about to have a difficult conversation with perhaps a team member, a business associate, or someone else, I know difficult conversations are something that many of us say, oh, I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. But today, I'm going to share with you my number one philosophy that will help you be able to have those difficult conversations and not feel so scared to have them. If this sounds like a topic that you want to learn more about and you know you're in a leadership role and you are required to be that person that has those very hard conversations, then you absolutely want to watch this video to the end because I'm going to share with you over 20 years worth of experience as it relates to being a C-suite executive, a director, a manager, and a public speaker that will help you go to that next level in your journey. Now, if you are watching this portion of the video, you are watching the replay, and I'm so glad that you are here today. This is a live video. Therefore, there is typically a point in time on YouTube where the audience will join our conversation, and I'd like to say hello to everyone. Therefore, give me just a few moments to say hello. I appreciate you being here. If you're new to me, welcome, and if you are a amazing subscriber that I have, welcome back, friend. I'm glad that you're here. This is a Q&A, and I know many of you have situations that come up in your leadership roles where you're just not sure, how do I say it, when do I say it, where do I say it, and etc. This is your safe space. You are welcome to ask me any questions related to very hard conversations that you have to have with your team members. If you are in my direct target audience, which are women in leadership, then reach out to me on any of my social media accounts that I have right now and also on my website at www.exciteexcellence.org. There's a lot of great ways that we can have a conversation and work with each other, so feel free to reach out to me. If you happen to not be in my target audience, perhaps you are a man in leadership, or maybe you are someone that is not in leadership just yet, but you're thinking about it, I guarantee you that you will learn a lot of great information here on this channel specifically that will help you be able to go to that next level in your careers. Now, I know this is a hard topic, and let me know in the comments below, have you ever been a little bit afraid of having a hard conversation? I have, and I'll share with you a conversation. One of the conversations I've actually had that I was most afraid of to have, and believe it or not, you will be surprised in terms of what it was. But before we go into the philosophy that I want to share with you that will help you be able to think about difficult conversations a little bit differently, let me see what's going on in the chat. We have Millie Ahrens, DZ8VB. Welcome, Millie. Hope you're doing well today. Millie, I believe you've been here before. Because I recognize the name. So welcome back. And for those of you who are joining, let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are in today. And let me know if you've ever worried about having a hard conversation with somebody. Let's talk about it. This is a Q&A. Ask me anything and let me know what you're struggling with, what questions you have about having hard conversations. I am here to serve you and to support you and help you be that person that you need just to talk to sometimes as it relates to advanced level communication skills so that you can be that leader that stands out from everybody else. I genuinely believe that people become great by how they communicate, and my mission here on this earth is to unlock the greatness within you. And I do that by showing you very advanced communication strategies to help you communicate at a higher level than your peers so that you're the person that stands out from everybody else. We have Cupcake 568-S6K. Hello, Cupcake. You've been here before. Welcome, Cupcake. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. We have Millie says, yes, I have. Yes, Millie, I remember your name. I'm very good with names. I am. I try my best to, especially with my audience. I know right now we're at 748 subscribers. You'd be surprised the names I remember, but I appreciate each and every one of you. And yes, Millie, welcome back. I'm glad that you're here. Millie says, thank you. And Millie says, I cuss at people. How do I fix that? Millie, very good question. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Cupcake 568 says, you look so pretty. Well, thank you, Cupcake. I appreciate that. Yes, Cupcake, I remember you too. I remember you all. I know this is one of the few channels, I will tell you, that I will actually say hello to people when they join live, because a lot of times People do not join. When I've seen content creators online, not all of them, but a large amount of them, they will not interact with their audience. They will not say hello to everyone just because they don't understand how to multitask and do that. This is my expertise. I do this all the time. So I'm just glad that you're here, and I want to make sure I say hello. And we're about to go into Millie's question. Millie asked a really good question, especially about difficult conversations, because Millie feels like Millie has to curse at people, and she's wondering, how do we fix that? So we're going to give Millie some strategies today. And Millie, let me know what your thoughts are and any other follow-up questions you have so I can support you on your journey. Okay, so we have Robert, welcome back. Robert, how you doing today? Good to see you again, friend. High five. Welcome back. All right, good to see you, Robert. Kayla Hurst, C2U. Hello, Kayla. Kayla, I think you've been here before also. I think you have. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Young Rays 355. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Young Ray says, remember me. I believe your name is familiar also. I'm glad that you're here. Robert says, hope you are doing well. I have a question to ask you. Robert, I'm here for you, friend. Let me know what question you have. I'm going to go through Millie's question first, and then I'll hop over to your question, Robert. Just go ahead and start putting it in the chat, friend. We have Kayla. Kayla says, oh, yeah. Thank you for the heart emojis. And we have Dorca Ventura 6307 says, hello. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you all are joining from today. And if you've ever had a hard conversation or anticipating having a difficult conversation, you just don't know how you should say it or when you should say it, this is the best place for you to be at on YouTube. We have Fitzachu. Hello, Fitzachu. You are new. And you said you're new. You are new. I don't remember your name, but I'm glad you're here. And Fitzachu says, hi, I'm new. I haven't seen you before. Well, Fitzachu, welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well today. I focus on helping you communicate at a higher level than your peers and being that person that stands out from everybody else. So I share with you advanced communication strategies, real techniques that will help you communicate better than everybody else. So this is the place for you to be if you are a leader and you're trying to go to that next level. Cupcake 568 says, is it okay to say no sometimes? Yes, Cupcake, it is okay to say no. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Let me make sure I say hello to everyone. So I'm going to go through your names quickly because I do absolutely want to go ahead and go into Millie's question. So we have Millie has a question. Cupcake has a question. Robert is going to come up with a question also. Okay, so we have Olvin Ochoa. Hello, Olvin. Hope you're doing well. Hi, my name is Nancy. Well, hello, Nancy. How are you doing today? And want to know what we're talking about. Nancy, we are talking about hard conversations, difficult conversations as a leader. This is a Q&A. If you have questions to ask me in terms of how do you have hard conversations, or maybe you have just a really challenging professional situation you're dealing with right now as a woman in leadership, ask me. We're going to talk about it here in just a moment. All right, Young Rays 355 says, in your opinion, what's the hardest job? I have something for you, Rays. I'm gonna go into that in just a second. Let me make sure I catch everybody really quickly that has not said hello just yet. We have, let's see, Cupcake says okay. Dorca Ventura says hello. And Kayla Hurst says, what is the hardest thing you've been through? Ooh, Kayla, I will share with you what I can share with you about that. Keegan Hendricks, welcome, Keegan. Keegan, I think you've been here before. So good to see you, okay? Awesome. And Robert's got his question queued up. All right, let's go. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Millie. We're talking about hard conversations. So if you have any conversations that have been difficult for you and you're struggling with it, you don't know how to say it, when to say it, etc., talk to me. Let me know what questions you have so I can help you. Millie's question was, I cuss at people. How do I fix that? Okay, so Millie, if you are trying to elevate how you communicate, cursing is not necessarily the best way to do it. So how do you fix that? One of the ways that I talk to my clients about, and my clients are women in leadership that I work with specifically, but as many of you know, I have a lot of great men in leadership here on my channel as well, along with women in leadership. But just know that that's my target audience. But a lot of the clients that I work with specifically, when they get really frustrated as leaders, sometimes they may slip out words or words that are curse words. How do you fix that? One of the ways you can fix that is to pause before you say anything. And think about it this way. If you were in this situation, Millie, and the roles were, we'll say, were reversed, okay? You were in a situation where someone had to tell something to you, but they cursed at you. Think about this. How would that make you feel? Now, you may say, oh, I'm fine. I'm not going to worry about it. But you may say, I don't think I would like it. So when you're having conversations with individuals, try to communicate with them in the way that you would want to be communicated to if it's a hard conversation. If you feel like you have to curse and etc., I talk about this a lot more in my executive communication masterclass that's listed on my website as well. I had actually a attendee that talked about that she just tends to curse sometimes when she curses a lot. But try to pause and think, can I say what I need to say without saying a 4-letter word or a curse word? Can you? When you're in those hot seat situations, those high stakes, high pressure situations, Millie, just remember, how can I say this without cursing? So 2 strategies. 1, think about if someone spoke to you that way, how would you feel? Second strategy would be, think of how can I say this without cursing? And that is a way for you to help to start reprogramming your mind to think of what is an alternative word that I can say besides a 4-letter word. I hope that gives you some insight. If you have a follow-up for me, let me know, okay? And I'm here to support you any way that I can. All right, let me go to the next question, which was from Cupcake, I believe. Let me find Cupcake's question. Just a moment. Cupcake, I believe you asked the question. Give me just a moment. Let me try to find it here. Is it okay to say no sometimes? Cupcake, it's absolutely okay for you to say no sometimes. You need to say no sometimes. If you do not say no, it makes it very, very difficult for you to be able to do some of the things that you need to do in your life. Cupcake, for the month of December, we talked about boundaries and boundaries and boundaries again. And one of the boundaries that we talked about was your energy boundary and your time boundary, your money boundary, your personal boundary, and your professional boundary. You have to say no sometimes. I say no all the time. When you're thinking about saying no, think about, if I say no to this, what am I saying yes to as it relates to myself? And one of the things that leaders struggle with oftentimes is having that balance in terms of being the leader, taking care of everyone, and also taking care of themselves. And one of the analogies I give to my clients, and I say this a lot on YouTube, is when you're thinking about saying no, think about when you're on a plane. And if you've never flown in a plane, there's a point in time where the pilot will say, if there's a problem with this plane, then you have to put your oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on everybody else. Meaning that if you can't say no to some aspects or some task or etc., you can't take care of yourself. Therefore, how can you take care of everybody else? So keep that in mind. You can absolutely, definitely say no. Now, for Young Rays 355, asks, in your opinion, what is the hardest job? Let me tell you, in my opinion, what's the hardest job. And it's not going to be what you think I'm going to say. I'm not going to talk about a specific industry. I'm not going to talk about a specific field. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I'm going to share with you over 20 years worth of experience as a C-suite executive, a director, a manager, an executive coach. I've worked in corporate America. I've been in those settings. And Young Rays, let me tell you what the most hardest job is. And if you all have questions, let me know in the comments below. And let me know what your thoughts are about what I'm going to say, because a lot of people don't say this. Are you ready? What I would say, Young Rays, the hardest job for anyone to work is a job that you hate. Not a specific industry, not a specific field. If you are working a job that is killing you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all of the above, then that, Young Rays, is the hardest job, in my humble opinion, that anyone can work. That is my insight on that. Let me know what you all think about that. Okay, so let me go through the chat, make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, so we have Robert. Robert has a question. Robert always has really amazing questions. Okay, Robert says, my colleague and I are doing the same work. Obviously, everyone has a different style of work. When we submit our report to the manager, his work looks good. How can I develop my ideas to do better? And Robert also has a follow-up and says, better in both presentations and making reports. Okay, so Robert, my follow-up for you for this specifically is the following. If you feel like your colleague, let's look at this. If you feel like your colleague, you're doing the same work, your report, his work looks good, what does good mean to you? Let's talk about that from an executive coaching standpoint. What does good mean to you? Is it the way he's presenting his work? Is it the layout of his work? Is it what he is saying or how he's communicating that work? What is it, Robert, that makes you feel like his work is better? Let's dive into that, because we can reverse engineer. And Robert, you know I'm here for you. We can reverse engineer and think of what are some strategies that Robert can do to enhance his work. Now, Robert, while you're giving me some feedback in terms of what makes you feel like his work looks good or looks better than yours, I'll give you a couple things in general just to think about while I'm waiting for your response. In presentations and reports, as you mentioned specifically, when you are getting those things together, one of the keys that I found in presentations, and Robert, I know you're a regular on the channel, and so we'll talk about this just briefly, but for those individuals that are new, public speaking is something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and it will change your life. I've talked about this in many videos. If you really are trying to change your life, really trying to change your life and make a difference in the world and change your income and earn more income and make a bigger impact, public speaking is critical. But I will say, in terms of presentations, think about what are some ways you can engage your audience. How can you make this presentation that you are doing with them a bit more interactive than just presenting information? For example, Robert, and I tell this to my clients too. If you're doing a presentation, and actually I had a client do this. I worked with a client of mine, I'll give you a story, that was presenting a big presentation for a very large conference. And one of the things that I worked with her on specifically was that she was just telling the information, but if you can make it interactive and ask questions, it actually makes the audience remember and want to stay engaged. Therefore, Robert, the next time you do a presentation, ask a few questions, definitely at the beginning, so you can engage your audience, and ask a few questions in between to see what their responses are. Now, if you want to have a full discussion with your audience, or if you want to just have a show of hands or a head nod or something along those lines, that's fine. But let's think about the presentations themselves. Have a lot more engagement with them. There's many public speakers and keynote speakers and etc. I've done keynotes before that do not use slides on their presentation. They just don't, because they're able to talk freely about a subject. So let's think about how we can engage your audience to make your presentation be amazing. In terms of your reports, same process. You want to make sure you're presenting it with energy, with excitement, and asking questions if you can. Of course, having things organized and neat in appearance is something that is important too, but those are a couple strategies I would say that can help you start making your presentations look the level that you want them to be. We have number 5 forever. Hello, hello, hello. And we have Keegan Hicks. I have not been here before. Okay, Keegan. There may have been another person named Keegan, but I'm glad that you're here. I appreciate you stopping by. Millie says, but what if I get hurt, then I cuss? So if you are hurt, this is something I talk about on my channel a lot. This is something that you may want to take a few moments to think about, is what are those situations, what are those circumstances that when they happen to you, they will trigger you to feel hurt, to feel upset, to feel some kind of way. What are those particular situations? Because if you can determine what are those triggers, and I will tell everyone watching, everybody has a trigger, okay? Everybody has a trigger. Please don't think that because I speak, I'm a public speaker, I've been doing this for 20 years, I don't have triggers. I do. Everybody does. You just need to know what they are so you can determine how you want to respond. Therefore, if someone is being mean to you and is hurting your feelings or etc., and then you feel like you need to curse, then try your best to think, okay, well, how can I not do this? So think about those situations that trigger you and develop a response from there. Young Rays says, there's a girl in my class and she's always rude to me. How do I ignore her? Okay, now that's a really good question, Young Rays, and I appreciate you so much for bringing that up. If you have somebody that is being rude to you and it's hard, how do you ignore them? One of the best ways to ignore someone that's being rude is to detract yourself, young Rays, by doing other things or interacting with other individuals. For example, if you're in class and you have a situation where people are doing different projects and this particular girl is giving you a hard time, try to surround yourself with other people or be a bit closer to the instructor. Maybe you want to sit a little closer to the front of the class. People will usually back off when you're not in the front of the class. They will tend to say, okay, well, I'm just going to sit back here. But if you're in the front, it helps you to be more visible to your instructor. That's something I would keep in mind. Be a little bit closer to your instructors, because when they see situations where somebody's being rude, they typically will pick up on it and say, by the way, person, you need to cut that out and don't do that. That's one way to ignore them. So detract yourself and find other people you need to be around. You may have other friends that you want to be around. Be closer to your other friends. Get yourself out of this situation or in the environment this rude person is at. And you don't have to necessarily communicate with people if you don't want to. I talk about this, and this is more of an advanced level strategy, but there's ways for you to still interact with people, but let them know I'm not interested in being bothered. And being silent is a strategy that anybody can master that will help you to navigate those very high stakes and challenging situations that you mentioned. Now, Robert says, when we do our work better than others in the team, they will get possessive and start hating without reasons. They also start gossiping about me and make me feel bad and lonely. Well, Robert, these people are just not on your level, friend. They're just not on your level. I've seen this happen so many times. What occurs most of the time is that when you're elevating, and Robert, I know you've had a lot of successes. You've been doing so well, and you'll have people come up and they will, if you do really well, they do feel like, oh, why is Robert doing so well? I mean, they will just come up with the most ridiculous things to think about as to why Robert's doing well. And you're right. People can sometimes get really possessive and start being mean. But the key is to just stay in your lane, Robert. Stay in your lane and know and understand that the people that act that way, they're here and Robert is up here. Okay? Remember that, because when you have those very catty conversations that I would say that come up, there's a bit of jealousy that people have. And jealousy is something that I definitely don't, it's not even a word that I use in my vocabulary, because it is such a negative word. There's so many negative connotations with it. And if you feel like you have to be jealous of someone, there's something that you are not happy or grateful for that you already have. And you will have jealous people, even though I don't talk about jealousy specifically. And I actually teach my kids this. Anytime if the word jealousy comes up, we don't say that word, because that's not a word that I even associate with. I'm thankful to God for where I am in my experiences. I am always supportive of other individuals, whether they're doing better than me or not, doesn't matter. You have to always be happy for someone's success, because ultimately we have to support each other. And there's going to be a time where you're going to be very successful and need some support too. So Robert, I would say in those situations, because they start gossiping and it makes you feel bad and lonely, just remember you're at another level. And I will tell you this just as a friend, because we've talked here a lot on the channel, and there noticed a couple things coming up in the chat. One of the things I want to share with you, and this will happen to many of you watching this channel, many of you that are subscribed to my channel or watching me or following my content, I'm sharing with you ways to elevate how you communicate. Most people go through life and they do not think about how they communicate. They do not care about how they communicate. They're not interested in really advancing their communication skills. Therefore, I'm sharing with you strategies and techniques that will help you to stand out from everybody else. Now, in the process of me doing that, one of the things that happens is that you will start to elevate, meaning that you are not the same Robert that you were before. You are starting to learn, oh, maybe I need to do this, maybe I need to do that. And you start just increasing your knowledge and you start going up in your roles. People sometimes don't like that. They do not like that. And so that's one of the things I would say is, as you elevate in your career, Understand that people that are giving you a hard time or that don't want to speak to you or being very disrespectful or rude because you're doing very well in the project, it's only a matter of time, Robert, before you surpass those individuals and go off to do the amazing things that I know you want to do. So don't let those people bother you. Just keep doing what you're doing and advancing your skill set so you can move on to that next chapter in your life. Robert says, my question is how to overcome the atmosphere. I hope I gave you some insight in that, because you have to be able to understand that you're at another level. You're at a higher level than everybody else, and this is something that you absolutely want to try to work on. You have to have, it's in your mind. Make sure that you are protecting yourself, distracting yourself like young Ray's talked about specifically, and then making sure that you are just strong in mind. You're going to be dealing with challenging situations like this. Robert, this is not the first, this is not the second, this is not the third, this is definitely not the last, where you're going to have to deal with really difficult people and have hard conversations. Just protect yourself in here. That's all the place that matters. Know that you are special, know that you are unique, know that you're at another level, and those knowings, I would say, will help to start building up how you are thinking about things. All right, Kayla Hurst says, you skipped my question. Kayla, I did skip your question. I'm sorry about that. So Kayla asked a question, and I missed it in the chat, so I'm sorry about that. Kayla, your question was, what is the hardest thing you've been through? Hardest thing I've been through, Kayla, is having to work at an environment where I built an environment and did very well and generated a lot of revenue for an organization. Being in a situation where I was told that I have to make this department lose money. That was probably one of the hardest things that I went through. When you build a business in an organization and you're generating revenue for millions of dollars and etc., when you build something from scratch and someone tells you, by the way, I need you to not make any more money or generate any more revenue, it is very, very difficult to go through. So Kayla, I'm sorry I did miss your question. You are right about that. But that is one of the hardest things that I've actually been through. Robert says, thank you. And Dorca Ventura is waving. Hello, hello. Robert says, there is a hierarchical procedure in our organization. We should not directly reach the manager, skipping the supervisor. What if the supervisor is lethargic and not responding properly? Okay, let's talk about that. There's another question you have, Robert. It is okay to complain about our supervisor to the manager. Does it seem to be the right procedure? Okay, so let me make sure I understand. I'm going to go over that one more time. Let's see. Give me just a second. Let me read through that again, because I want to make sure I'm giving you some good insights there, Robert. A lot of times, I feel like you've been in one of those lives. When you have those situations where there's that hierarchy and the first line of person is not communicating with you, you have to go to the next one. I know hierarchy is hard to do that, but you have one or two options. Either you can try to reach out to the supervisor again and again and again. If you decide you want to do that, then keep things documented as much as you can. Send them an email, send them a text, one of the two, and mention that you need to discuss this particular project or situation with them. Keep documenting that. And therefore, when it gets to the point where you haven't heard someone and it's been 2 or 3 times or whatever you feel like is too much, then at that point, when you reach out to the manager, then you can say, I did reach out to supervisor X amount of time and this was going on. I know the supervisor's busy. That is the way I've been able to navigate those very difficult conversations when I'm not trying to necessarily throw somebody under the bus, but let them know, look, I have done my due diligence. I have reached out to this person multiple times. They're not contacting me back. Say, I know that they're busy. I know they have a lot of projects, so that it doesn't seem like you are just going above them. Try your best. So how many times have you reached out to your supervisor? If your supervisor is lethargic, as you mentioned, keep it documented. Contact them, email, text message, see what's going on. If you need to stop by their office and have that as your last attempt and say, by the way, lethargic supervisor, I have something I need to talk to you about, then do that. But try to exhaust your options, especially if there's a hierarchy that's there. Exhaust your options with the supervisor. If you feel like if you feel like they are purposefully not responding to your inquiry, then that's when you need to talk to their manager. That would be my recommendation to you in that end. And so in terms of saying, is it okay to complain about a supervisor to the manager? Does it seem to be the right procedure? Yes, it just depends on if you've reached out to the supervisor a couple of times. Like if you've reached out to the supervisor several times and you have it documented, you text, email, as I mentioned a moment ago, and you've spoken with them verbally, we need to talk about this project. When can we set some time aside to discuss it? And it's still not going anywhere, then absolutely you need to have a conversation with your manager. And as I mentioned, I would always preface this conversation by being, I know that lethargic supervisor is busy. I know lethargic supervisor has a ton of projects lethargic supervisor is dealing with. I wanted to talk to you about this scenario or this situation because it is impacting our team as a overall, and I just wanted to see if I could get some insights from you on it. That is what I would do. I've done that personally to not put myself in a contentious situation, because sometimes what happens, Robert, and as I'm sure you're aware, when you go talk to your boss's boss, people start to act a little bit differently to you and start to give you a hard time. But if you speak about them in a positive way, saying, oh, I know he or she is busy, I understand, I just don't want to bother them, I know I've reached out to them a few times before, I would say that because you have. That is a way for you to be able to navigate those very difficult conversations. And what I'm sharing with you are strategies that people do not talk about necessarily on YouTube, especially customized to your specific situation. And that's the reason why I'm here, because I know you all go through a lot as leaders, whether you are in my direct audience as women in leadership or you're a man in leadership like Robert. We all go through challenges. There's a lot of things that we deal with, and we're just not sure, well, how should we communicate it? How can I help to have my life as being as sane and calm as possible when things are going everywhere? So this is something just to keep in mind, and I appreciate you all so much for being here and watching live and watching the video replay as well. Robert says, thank you for the support, ma'am. Absolutely, Robert. You're so welcome, friend. You have been a great guidance to me. Absolutely, Robert. Well, I appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you are here, and I appreciate you supporting you in any other way that I can. The one philosophy that I did mention at the very beginning of my live that I want you all to just remember the next time you have these very hard or difficult conversations that come up is the following. Make your difficult conversation feel like a conversation. Now that may sound very, very intuitive, but it's not. Most of the times when people are having a difficult conversation, they feel like there's a part of the conversation where they're having to talk down to someone, correct them for doing something incorrectly. Or maybe they have to put them on a performance improvement plan, or maybe you have to do something else. There's typically some type of rehearsing that happens, but if you can make your difficult conversation feel really like a conversation, it tends not to be so hard and so challenging. A couple of ways to do that is to open the conversation up by saying, how are things going for you in this specific role? We mentioned this a couple times in the past with Olive Juice 2024, and we talked about this a bit in terms of how to have those very hard conversations by starting the conversation off with, how are things going for you? If you start the conversation off by saying, by the way, this is what I've noticed you've been doing, and this is not right, and I don't like it, it's not supporting our organization, then automatically that person is on defense, and they're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? If you have it more like a genuine conversation and say, how are things going for you in this role? Majority of the times, if people are very open and receptive to having a conversation with you, they will say what the problem is. They will say, I don't like this, I don't like that, or these aspects of my role are going very well, or these aspects of my role are not going well at all. There's many ways to have a good conversation. And if you are in my direct target audience as a woman in leadership and you need some insight in terms of how exactly to navigate these challenging situations, maybe you've been overlooked for promotions. Maybe you have not been able to generate the income you want to. Maybe you have been in very contentious situations, as Robert mentioned a moment ago. There's ways to navigate these situations. You don't have to do it by yourself. That's why you reach out to me and let's work together. Let's work together and figure it out for you. So we have Cookville Taxi. Welcome back, Cookville Taxi. How are you, friend? Cookville Taxi says, hi, I missed your videos. Well, I missed you all also. I had to be out last week because I had some changes happen schedule-wise that were very unexpected, but I'm getting back into the swing of everything now in terms of my morning and evening lives. So I'm working through that. But Cookville Taxi, friend, it's always good to see you here. And I'm glad that you said hello. And I'm glad to have you here as a part of my audience. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other hard conversations, difficult conversations, conversations that you just feel like, oh, I don't want to have this conversation, but I know I need to have it. I don't know how to say it. I don't know when to say it. I don't know how to still have the conversation, but still conduct myself as a leader and as an executive. Put it in the comments below. Even if you're watching the replay, I will answer your question and give you some insight on your journey. Now, there's a couple videos that you will want to watch that will complement this topic. A couple of those videos, and these will be on my live tab, would be Thinking on Your Feet. I have several Thinking on Your Feet videos. Managing Your Emotions Under Pressure. There's a couple videos there. That's a topic I'm probably going to do a bit more videos on. And then there's also Eye Contact and Body Language. Those are some very good titles of videos that you want to watch when you are trying to elevate yourself and navigate how to have hard conversations. It all comes down to communication. And if you're struggling in your career, you're not where you want to be, you're not making the income you want to make, a lot of it will come down to communication. How are you communicating? And that is hopefully why you subscribe to my channel. So Cookville Taxi says, I really hope you have a good night. I have to go. I'm having a fantastic night. I'm so glad that you all are here. And Cookville Taxi, I hope you have an amazing night as well. Anytime I'm live and I get to see my audience members that I've seen previously in the past, we had a lot of people join today that's been here for a while. Some really great conversations with Robert as well. It's always wonderful to have you all here. And Millie says, I have to go. Well, Millie, I'm glad you're here. And I hope that I gave you some insight. And let me know how things go next time when you feel like you need to say some 4-letter words to somebody. Let me know. Millie says, thank you. I appreciate you all so much. Millie, for those of you who are new, I typically go live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in the morning, in the evening. My schedule was off a bit last week, so I apologize because I had some scheduling things happen, but feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications so the next time I go live, I can be here to support you. I hope you all have a great day and have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.